Thank you, everyone. We don't have everybody here. I don't believe we've got a quorum just yet. 1, 2, 3, 4. We do not have a quorum just yet. So we're going to give it another minute or so, and then hopefully we'll get the folks here for the vote by the time we get to that point. I think we only had one person who said they could not make it. But we will give it another minute. And I'm sure we'll have some folks speaking from the public, so. So Mark, essentially, we accept the minutes, we're gonna do the public hearing. And then from there, I mean, the rates have all been made public. We just have to, you'll go make your presentation?
Yeah, we're gonna just, the public can join in and voice their opinion on anything that they like or dislike about the rate proposal. And then I'm just gonna show my screen and we'll go over the new rate proposal and answer any questions, have a nice discussion.
Just so everybody knows, I know in the past, sometimes we've brought in an executive session for this, but there's no salaries or anything. So this will all be in public session. So
that's 5, so we're good to go.
Yeah, we're good to go. So I am going to call this meeting to order. This is 7:05. I'll call the meeting to order, the Oak Hills Park Authority, Thursday, December 16th, 2021 meeting. I will go around and do a roll call of who's here. We have Alan Dutton.
Here.
Denise Brown.
Here.
Rayanne Bromart.
Here.
Carl Dickens. I see him.
Muted.
We're here.
He's here. I know, Carl, you're always so quiet, always. Jennifer McAllister.
That she was not going to be here.
Yeah, she wasn't going to be here. So, Barbara Sheik. TJ Trimboli. Joe Andrasco. And then I'm Michael DePalma and I'm here. So it looks like we have 5 current members here. So we have enough for a quorum. So I will call the meeting to order. And first up on the agenda is acceptance of the minutes.
I have a couple corrections, not as much as last month, you guys. You guys will be very happy, but on page, let me find it. On page 8 of our minutes, at the very top sentence, it says, Mr. Gardner narrated a PowerPoint presentation on the seasonal passes. I like on the season passes instead. So I want to get rid of the AL and then go from there. Then on the very last page, page 9, they said the board members entered into an executive session at 8:46 p.m. They returned to public session at, it was actually 9:05 p.m. you guys. We returned into the regular session. And then for adjournment, I had, from my notes, I had Joe Andrasco move to adjourn, but Boris seconded it. And we passed the motion unanimously and the meeting adjourned at 9:06 p.m.
Okay, cool. The only very slight change I have is right on page 1 for the attendance. The bar's name is spelled wrong. It's spelled B-O-A-B-A-R and it's B-A-B-A-R.
Oh, I didn't even pick up on that one. That's
I'm-
surprise.
it's-
That's
yeah,
surprise.
no.
That's surprise.
Yeah.
Somebody's slipping.
That's right.
Hey guys, I pick up on all of our stuff
Put
normally, so.
Put that into the minutes for next week, Rayanne. Missed one.
I have one quick comment too. Sorry, 2 quick comments on page 7 under my report, the financial report presented by Mark Gartner. In the 3rd paragraph, the last sentence, it says the year total rounds was 24. It should be the year to date total rounds was 24,400. And then just below that, under old business / new business, at the end there, it says about the 2022 budget. I think budget should be changed to proposed rates. That was the discussion that we had. That's it for me.
Mark, I actually highlighted your 24 whatever, but in my notes, I didn't have the actual numbers, so I didn't bring that one up, so.
That's okay. I got it. I read these too.
Anybody else have any changes to the minutes? All right, hearing none, would anybody like to make a motion to pass as amended?
I'll make
So
a
moved.
motion.
Alan, you want a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying no. Any abstentions? All right, the minutes pass. So now we will open it up. We've got the public hearing. So this is the main, obviously, point of the agenda today. So we will open it up to public comment. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to speak? I believe you could raise your hand and we can promote you. And I do see a hand raised. Am I able to promote?
I see one. Yeah, I see one.
It's Gene Walters.
Walters.
Sorry.
All right, Jane's promoted. Just unmute. Hey, Jane.
Hi there, everyone.
Hi, Jane. Hello.
Hello there.
So I have a prepared speech,
All
but it
right,
won't
sounds
take
good.
long. Okay, so as I looked at the proposed rate increases, I have to say I was really astounded. With over $500,000 in the bank, and what I read is over 40,000 rounds of golf. Why is there a need for these increases as compared with other area courses? I believe the new rate structure may price you out of the market. I love Oak Hills. However, you should check out Toshua Knolls, Orange Hills, Smith Richardson, just to name a few. Equally as nice, more amenities and competitive pricing. My question as a regular golfer would be, what's been done to the course to warrant and substantiate these increases? Hopefully the restaurant will be fully operational next season. But we've gone 2 years with no restaurant, a lifetime of no driving range, and abhorrent bathroom facilities. And now you're asking me to pay more. I would request that you reconsider and leave the rates the same as they were last season.
Can I just interrupt real quick and ask everybody to put themselves on mute because somebody's talking in the background somewhere. I don't know who, but
Yep. Thanks, Carl. Okay. Thank you, Jane. Do you have anything else to add or?
No, that's it.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jane. Okay. Anyone else like to speak? And just to clarify, I know we probably have a bunch of people on, just, rules for any of these commissions throughout the city and all, it's 3 minutes to speak. And then we don't, engage in back and forth, but obviously we'll take all of those comments into consideration as we open it up for discussion. So is there anyone else? Let me see if anybody's raising their hand. Anybody else like to speak tonight?
I'm not seeing any.
Okay, going once, twice. All right, we will close public comment. And at this point, I guess I'll turn it over to you, Mark, but obviously, Paul, you'll be involved in these conversations as well. So, Mark, you want to share your screen and we can go through?
Yes.
And again,
No one
if
still has
everybody
a
could
TV
just,
on in the background.
yeah, if everybody could just mute, please.
Thank you. This here are the proposed rates for 2022. This is everything. This is the golf and cart rates as well as the annual passes all on one sheet. If you want, Mike, I can also show what I sent around earlier, which has, last year's, this year's, and the difference. But figure since we're looking at 2022, I'll start with this.
We could see the deltas here because you've got
Okay.
2021, unless anybody else. I'll go through this, and if anybody wants more information, we can pull other stuff up.
Perfect. So this year, when it comes to the golf and cart fees, Paul and I went through this stuff, and We did $1 across the board basically, and for non-residents $2 after with some input from other staff and authority members, and definitely on the cart fees as well, since the cart paths are a major endeavor that we're going through right now, the continuous cart path paving. On top of that, for the annual passes, after doing the analysis, I was pleasantly surprised with with how we did not lose money on these. And so we are just putting forth a 5% increase, literally 5% on all the unlimited passes with no increase on the limited passes. But my suggestion is that we limit it to 50 sales. This year we had 66. And after you add on additional family members, it was up to 75 total pass holders. Which I know, some of our regular players, whether they're non-members or discount ID card holders, there is a concern of people getting that earlier tee time, and too many of those can really make it really hard to get tee time. So I think if we just limit a little bit, I think it's kind of the best scenario in the sense that there were some really strong supporters of the annual pass, and then there was some really strong opposition of the annual pass. So I think offering them, but in a limited manner with a slight increase, to me makes sense. And just, I know we don't necessarily have to address anything, but just to Jane's point, for me, where we're sitting, I know we do finally have money in the bank, and I'm very happy for that. With minimum wage raises going through for the last few years and continuing for the next 2, as well as the inflation rate right now, which is affecting some of our supplies and materials that are needed, and all the money we are putting back into the course, and not just into the restaurant, but into the continuous car pass, that was extremely expensive, and those a lot of that has not been paid yet. So you will see our cash balance drop drastically over the next couple of months, along with the normal drop in an off season. And we do have a lot of planning, a lot of things planned for next year as well. And to your point too, we are looking at making improvements to the bathrooms, structures on the course, and also potentially getting some golf simulators. So there is a reason. We're trying not to go too high, but golf is an expensive upkeep. And we're seeing costs rise across the board. So I'll open it up to any questions.
I just want to say something quick, and then we'll open it up. What I'd like to do is kind of look at these rates in 2 different buckets and potentially vote on them separately. So there would be the general rate increases, and then the annual passes. I would like to split those out, because I do think they're 2 different things. Everybody okay with that? So to take 2 different votes?
Yes,
Yep.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. And then just to further on your point, Mark, I mean, obviously we do have not just the increases in minimum wage, but inflation is going up. I'm sure Jim can give us some stats on some of the prices that he's going to see going into 2022. My personal opinion on it, and we'll stay with just the rate increases. I think the rate increases are very reasonable, up $1. $10, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but $10 on the permits, the annual passes, and then $1 across the board in terms of annual rates. I think that's well under inflation, significantly under what inflation is.
Yeah, and if you do the math, if you're a player who gets the pass and plays 10 to 20 rounds, your overall annual increase is $20 to $30. It's not too bad in my opinion.
Right. And if you think about, we do have over $600,000 in the bank, which is great. If you go back and look historically about where we have been at this point, and I'd go back a decade is probably when I've seen the numbers, it has never been this strong. And I'm just a believer in, we want to make sure that this is whole. We don't know what next year will bring. And so to kind of not keep going with where we are, we run the risk of in 2 years being back where, we're asking for donations to open the course. So I'll leave it at that, but I want to open it up to the other members for comments.
Mike, I did tell you ahead of time. I
Mhm.
did do a cost analysis. If I can go through my scenario here, and if we actually do if one person pays the 26.25, and I use 60 rounds just for an example, because it was easy to divide like in half and everything. But if we do the annual pass of the 26.25 and they pay 60 rounds, they would be paying 43.75 a round. But the benefit they have is the 1 day of advanced booking. If you look at it in the other scenario, where somebody was going to pay the 120 like resident rate, like permit or whatever, and they pay they played the 60 rounds, and I used the example of, it could vary a little, okay, but I did 30 days peak weekday, and at our proposed rate is going to be $38. So 30 rounds at $38 comes to $1,140. Then I said their other 30 rounds for the 60 days was going to be a peak weekend day, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or holiday, and that would be at $41. That comes to 1230. So you add the 1230, the 140, and the 120 together, and you come up with the 2490. So people really do need to see how many days they're going to play and what is actually going to be more beneficial to them, whether they play weekdays, weekends. Because when I actually went through before this meeting, how many times like a season, a week we played, I actually went through my entire season, you guys, and between Smith Richardson, my parents' course in Vermont, and Oak Hills, I actually played 77 rounds during our golf season. So I mean, just to give you guys an example, and if you want to know rates along with what Jane was saying, I printed out the current rate schedule from Sterling Farms, Smith Richardson, let's see, Longshore, Richter Park, and Fairchild Wheeler. And honestly, you guys, we are coming in higher than any of these other golf courses for residents. So I kind of do agree with Jane's point, where we need to stay competitive. We need to have a restaurant that is going to serve us, and we need to stay within the competition.
Do you
So
have those rates by any chance? I just want to see what the gap is there. Do you have them in front of you?
I have the whole thing, see, right in front of me, all of them. So
Can you just, I'm just gonna take some notes. Would you be able to just read off the
yeah. So you want like the resident rates of what the
resident, yeah, resident
Okay,
rates for those, yep.
okay, hang on. Resident rates, we're looking at Sterling Farms right now, okay, is before 12 p.m. It's $35 walking, $50 riding and that's Monday through Thursday. Friday, they have $36 walking, $51 riding, and Saturday, Sunday, and holiday, it's $36 walking and $51 riding. And their pass, hang on, I'm looking for what the pass price is, because the pass price also makes a big difference in a lot of this. Because with Smith Richardson, it makes a huge difference. I don't see what their pass is currently. I didn't get that.
Okay, we
But-
could stick with the rates. Okay, keep going. So that's Sterling. Okay, so $36 on Fridays.
And then Smith Richardson, okay, which I'm also a member of, because I joined the Women's Association this year. It is with their resident season pass. The resident season pass is $450, okay? And if you pay the $450, ours is only gonna be $120, but the 18 holes, Monday through Thursday is $20 with the season pass. And then Friday through Sunday and holidays is only $20 with the season pass.
Same exact, they don't change the rates at all for the weekends? It's all $20?
Yeah, and actually, can I tell you guys, I'm a non-resident and I joined Smith Richardson. My non-resident pass to join Smith Richardson was $500, and I get the same benefits that a resident does of the 7-day advanced tea time booking. I paid $500 for a non-resident pass, and on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and holidays, I only paid $32 after paying my $500 up at Smith Richardson.
Oh.
So,
Well, I'm
It's-
I'm doing the math, just real quick, Mark. So I'm doing the math right now. If you took the delta of that, the $450, we're just looking at residents at this point.
yeah,
To our 120, even though there's a $15 gap in the cost, that would be over 20 rounds you would have to play before that becomes a break even.
right. I mean, as I said, there is a difference between all of the golf courses in the area. But
Yep.
before we actually took a vote on this, I wanted to bring to everybody's attention
I think
what
it's important.
the
I agree
other,
with you.
what the other golf courses are charging. So.
Yeah, no, I just want to put that into context. So yeah, it looks really good on paper, but when you have that much larger of a increase to the pass itself, then the average golfer probably doesn't play 25 rounds in
No.
a summer. So, there'll be discount. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And then, let's see, now my next one is Longshore. And their Monday through Thursday is $31. And the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and holidays is $33. And I don't have their pass rate on this piece of paper, but that just gives you their current rates. Then,
Will they talk about booking, how far in advance you can book?
all of these golf courses allow you, if you have the resident pass at any of the golf courses, you're allowed the same 7-day advance booking like we do. So it's basically like you get up, like if I want to play on a Sunday, I get up the Sunday before and make my tee time.
So it's apples to apples. Okay.
They're all 7-day advance, like if you have the passes. Fairchild Wheeler resident ID card is only $25, you guys. And they're,
Brianne,
yes,
you keep saying the 7-day booking. Aren't we 8-day?
That's just for this
it's
season.
8-day if they have the season pass and they pay the $26.75 that we're thinking about
Oh,
going to, but
Yeah.
You're talking about
just-
the,
Regular
I'm
rates, yeah.
talking about if I pay my $120
Okay.
and I want to play
All right.
golf.
sorry.
So, yeah,
Yep.
sorry.
All right, so what are their rates at the wheel over there?
At Fairchild Wheeler, it is hang on. Let's see. Fairchild Wheeler is Monday through Thursday, $42. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and holidays is $50.
Significantly higher.
Theirs is higher.
Mhm.
And then that was all of them that I had, you guys. So,
Right, so just so I'm looking at it, I mean, Sterling is almost exactly the same. We didn't have the annual, what that ID card costs, but we're looking at 37 versus 36. Smith Richardson is significantly less, but the actual permit is significantly higher.
it's a lot higher, yes.
Right, so
but-
there's a break point there. Longshore is less expensive. We don't know what that pass costs. My guess is it's higher, but even without, I would put our course above them. I'll just, as my opinion, in terms of course quality. And then Fairchild Wheeler is significantly higher. So I would push back a little bit and say we're right in line here, especially with the quality of the course.
I agree with what you're saying. I just wanted all of us to get an actual
This is awesome.
example of the area costs and a cost analysis, as I said, on like a 60 round. And as I said, when I figured out how many times I actually play golf, I paid 74 times, but it's at different courses. But I mean, still, it gives you an example of what people pay and at what courses. So something for us to think about and discuss.
These
Sure.
numbers are great.
I just like to make a quick point. I think, if we look at moving forward, we have new carts. Basically, we've had them a year now. We're going to have a restaurant operation and a really nice one, I think. I mean, I've been up to Fairfield to Smith, Fairchild, wherever it is. Their restaurant operation isn't that great. Their course isn't that great. I've played there a couple of times. I think our course is really good and great, and Jim does a great job. Sterling Farms has got a $2 million revenue kick that they're getting from their range, and they still haven't reduced their rates lower because of that. So, a $1 increase for us is like 3%. Well, inflation is going at 6% at the moment. So, I think it's good.
Yeah, and
I think those things actually help us. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Mike. Yeah, and I think to Alan's point, I think people need to realize too, all this money that we're increasing on is going back into the course. It's not going into anybody's pocket. It's going into the course to make the course better. Whether it's improving the cart pass, improving the restaurant, improving, investing in the simulators. I think that's the thing we need to understand is that we're trying to invest back into the course to make this the premier Fairfield County golf course and place to go. And I think and I'm a golfer too, so I think these prices are not that bad in terms of an increase, but I think people need to understand all this money is going back into the course and putting it into for the people and to make this not only a great golf park, but also just a park in general where we can invest in the nature trails and everything else. So I think we just need to keep that in mind, and hopefully people understand why we're increasing it. And I can tell you just from running restaurants, inflation is a real thing. Food costs are real. Increasing minimum wage is a real thing. And you don't think about it where $1 or $2 that's going up on the minimum wage, but you times that by 30, 40 employees, which Jim will tell you, and it hits your bottom line quick.
Well, I think you, Donald and Alan both made a very good point. And that's particularly where Fairchild Wheeler is concerned. My understanding is, and I don't know about Sterling so much, but Fairfield, the city of Fairfield owns Fairchild Wheeler. Is that not correct?
Right.
And I think that all the improvements and everything that they have done, clubhouse and everything else.
I think theirs is actually city of Bridgeport, because they don't come under the city of Fairfield website. I think they're Bridgeport actually.
Yeah,
Carl, you're talking about Smith Richardson.
That's owned by the city.
Richardson, a city of town of Fairfield.
And they just got a new clubhouse and everything, I think that's.
Yes, they
awesome,
did.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
It's an awesome clubhouse, but yes.
My point I'm trying to make is that they have, as you two pointed out, they have external funds called city dollars. And as everybody knows, particularly on OPA here, and hopefully those who are listening or watching, there is no city dollars at Oak Hills. And when you talk about Sterling, which a lot of people like to compare us to, I really don't think you can do that. And particularly because of the driving range there, that adds another $1.5 million a year in revenue to their efforts. We do not, of course, have that. And, you know, we have two revenue sources at Oak Hills, golf and the restaurant. And that's it.
Tennis.
And the tennis. And that's a private deal farmed out to, you know, to another vendor. But yet we make money off of it. Thank you, Al. But that's, but the point is that, and I take what Jane had to say very seriously, and I know that, you know, a dollar here, a dollar there, trust me, particularly the seniors who are on fixed incomes and this sort of thing. But I don't think these rates are that outrageous. As Al said, we got new carts. By the time we open up, hopefully in the spring, the golfers that have been there for 50 years and the new ones are going to see something that's going to shock them probably, and that's completed golf carts. And the course looks great and has been maintained and is good. Dollar for dollar, pound for pound versus the experience that you get. And in proximity to where most people, particularly residents, although I think about 65% of non-residents make up the rounds at Oak Hills now. Paul will know that better than I, and Mark knows that. It's still a great value and a great bang for your buck. And I mean, you know, we could sit here all night long trying to get into the heads of people everywhere about what they think about what they want to pay to play that golf course. And, you know, Jane could be right. I mean, but I don't think we're going to lose a lot of people going to the other courses. Are we going to get some people that maybe grumble a little bit here and there? Well, yeah, if you're in business, anytime you deal with the public, you're going to get that. But I think it's a good bang for your buck, and I don't think these rates are that outrageous.
I think, and I appreciate, Rand, you putting those together, because I think it does kind of let it right out there in terms of where we are versus Sterling. And there's obviously a lot of different factors in there with where they generate revenue. But and I'll ask you, Mark, I mean, if you really just sort of take a step back, we're increasing our rates by 3%. Inflation is closer to 5 or 6%. Plus
7%. Inflation's at 6.8.
Right. So we're in that range, and that's for everything we've got. Plus we have the increases. In my mind, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, if we did the same exact thing in terms of how many rounds we get this year with the increase, we're still going to net out less money than we did in 2021 because inflation is raising faster than what we're actually doing. Is that on a high level? Does that kind of sound right? I mean,
on a high level, yes.
Below cost.
On a high level, yes. I don't think it would actually work out that bad. I think we would probably still net out because labor. A lot of our costs are labor, and you know the dollar increase is not across the board. You know, it doesn't affect all of our employees. But yes, in theory, what you said is absolutely accurate. And I just did want to add one thing, and just as you said too, I do thank Rayanne for bringing those to the table. I that was great. But just to put those into context, those would be the 2021 rates that you were talking about for all the other courses. So that's without their 2022 rate increases. So this, which is the same thing I ran into last year when I tried doing the same exact thing. You can't compare apples to apples because we don't have their 2022 rates yet. So for all we know, Sterling is going to raise it another $1 or $2, and they'll be at the same as us or more. So I just wanted to put that on the table as well.
Very good point.
Correct. I mean,
Good point.
correct, Mark, correct. I understand that. I went with what was on the physical website as of today. However, but I do know that from all the times I've been at the golf course, people are kind of upset. And I have heard from numerous people, they are looking to switch to other courses for this upcoming year who used to be regulars at our like golf course. So, I mean, I think we kind of have to consider what we are doing and the rates we are providing to them. So I'm still kind of questionable about raising the annual passes, the 5% as you want to do. I understand it's money up front. They get the benefit of the additional day booking, but I'm not sure we should actually raise it the 5%. I mean, I honestly think we should leave it at the 2,500, but that's my opinion.
Oh, That to me is very minor, to be honest. And the 5% I think is very light. I know I've heard feedback, to be honest, of the opposite, that people would pay more than that. And we don't want to gouge anybody, but we also don't want to sell too many of these. There is a high round break-even point to this for a reason, because if we sold it too low, everyone would buy one, and we'd have 70,000 rounds, but we'd have less money. So we do want to price it a bit higher and only have the people who are playing quite a few rounds to do this.
And we're talking 50 packages, right? 50 people? Yeah.
That's my recommendation. Keep it at 50. So this way we have less than we did this year, and they don't take up all the tea times.
I do kind of, like I said, I kind of want to break out the two pieces. So I do think we want to have a deeper dive into the annual passes too. I want to keep it right now on the rates. I looked just quickly, Tashua Knowles even, which is a decent comp. Their weekend rates are $34. That's their 2021 rates. So, we'd be a few dollars higher, but their weekday rates are $31. So we're actually cheaper on the weekday rates. I really think we're pretty much in line here. But I do want to hear from anybody else. I don't know if, Denise or
Mike,
TJ, and I'd like to know TJ and Joe just joined. TJ Tremboli and Joe Andrasco. So I want to make sure the minutes reflect that they are here.
Mike, I just would like to say one more thing too, please.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. In regard to Rayanne, I just wanted to say, while I'm very compassionate of the people that you were talking about that are considering leaving because our rates are going up, they should also understand that the rates that we had in place, a couple of years ago, we were never profitable. We were constantly needing to borrow money throughout the off season just to get by. So our rates were a little bit too low. So of course nobody wants rates to go up. I understand that. I don't want to pay more for anything when I go to the store either. But to be a viable business and to thrive, we have to cover our costs. And we are also at the same time, we're being more cost conscious. So it's not like we're just taking the revenue and spending, on whatever. We are watching everything that we spend on. It's just with the investments we're putting into it and the rising costs across the board. If we don't pass on those costs to our customers, we will not continue in the long run.
And for the context of some of the people,
Mark, I completely agree with you, and I understand that. But as I said, we've had issues, we've had complaints, and I think we should actually take a stronger look at what we are proposing. So that's just my response.
Do we know how many complaints we've had?
I could tell you as chairman, I have gotten a few, but I would say, how many rounds do we have? 40,000 rounds, Mark?
I think we're already at 44,000.
44,000 rounds. I would ballpark it at 20 to 25 emails I've gotten. And that's total. And some of them are multiple people. The same person.
Same
I would
person
just
writing 20 times, yes.
But I would also like to point out the first year, and this is my third year, the first year we went through the budget, our budget projected us finishing, if you remember, underwater. The budget showed it based on what we were planning on getting in, what our rates were going to be. We were telling the city, we were telling the public that we were going to lose money that year. It blew my mind, but it was what it was because there's what the rates were. And we were using historical actuary tables. Mark, you could agree with that, right? I can go through my emails and pull that up. This would have been 2019. We were actually showing us, and that's really how it had been for years. Because in that presentation, we saw historical data, and there was that, we called it the Tiger Woods surge, where we had a couple of really good years when everybody was golfing in the early 2000s. But that's the reality. So I could tell you, when I was asked to join the authority, there were two things. The main thing was, how come you guys are always maxing out your credit line every year? And I would say that's the one mission that me personally I had, but I'm sure a lot of the other folks were. We can't sit there every single spring and project a budget that's going to be under and just hope that we happen to have a good year. It's not the way you run anything.
Correct.
Agreed.
Correct.
So
I
Now we
mean,
now we have
my-
7 folks here. Go ahead.
this probably is irrelevant, but I'll just say it anyway. If I want to play an hour's worth of tennis on the court, it costs me $20. So if I'm going to play 2 hours, it's going to cost me $40. And you're on the course for 3.5, 4 hours at $38. And so if I'm playing tennis, it's costing me far more. If I was going to play 3 hours of tennis, I'd be on there paying $60. So I'm just saying that, when for tennis, it's costing me far more than what you guys are paying for a round of golf. So
But Denise,
It's
you get
a
an
great
annual
point.
pass, $95 for the year, no, right?
what'd you say, Alan?
If you get an annual pass, isn't it not $95 for the year as a resident? Yeah.
Well, for seniors, yes, it's a cheaper, but I mean, if anybody else comes on the course, they're going to be paying far more. And if I play with my, if I'm taking clinics and stuff, that's $55 an hour. So
Gotcha.
you're paying, I'm paying a lot more money for a shorter period of time, is what I'm trying to say. So
Well, you're paying $20 an hour to play tennis, right?
that's an hour, yeah.
In an hour. So the average round of golf lasts 4.5 to 5 hours.
Right.
Unfortunately. So
I mean, I'm just talking about what we pay at Oak Hill.
I understand.
No, I think it's a good point.
It's a good point. I just don't think they're comparable.
No, it's not really the same issue, but it's just something that you wind up paying for the sport.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Anybody else have anything to add from the authority? I know a couple people just joined. Anybody have any other thoughts? And this is just strictly at this point, just on the regular rates, the $1 increase and the $10 increase to the.
Yeah, I mean, the only real complaints that I got inundated with was the tea time situation, which was sort of related to cost, but it was related to the fact that, okay, so Mike DePalma spends $2,500, gets a season pass, and I can't get tea times anymore because there was enough of those turned out that blocked a bunch of us out. I get that. I understand that. And I think that's going to be addressed. Not here, but I think in another time. But I still say on the per round, if I just drive over and play as a resident and pluck down my money for golf time, green fees, it's a very, very reasonable situation.
I agree. That's my personal thoughts on it.
Carl, I agree with you on that fact. There are the tea time issues, which we do need to address at a different off time like schedule, because somehow we do have to fix the tea time issue, because me being like where I buy my $120 pass or whatever, and I go on at exactly 5 o'clock in the morning, and I get up at 4:45, go on at like 5 o'clock, try and get my tea time. The earliest tea time I can get is usually 10:30. So we do need to make some sort of resurrection in this off season to like the tea time issue with if we continue to keep the annual passes. And if we vote to keep the annual passes, we do need to definitely address the tea time issue. I mean, that is a huge issue, and I can go on and on for hours, but I'm not going to keep us on. So that's just my 2 cents right now.
No, I
think
agree with you
that's
on
a
that. I
perfect
think
segue.
Michael agrees with on that too. And then the only other I brought up last Friday that has always bothered me is the fact that I might get up at the hour you're talking about, and maybe I see, oh, wow, 9 o'clock is open, but Mike DePalma's got 3 of the spots at the 9 o'clock, and that leaves one lonesome spot. And I know that Paul said that, sometimes we're charging back people if they make 3 tea times, but they only occupy 1. We're charging them for the others that they book because it knocked out paying customers from being able to get a tea time. So I think what you just said and what I just said are linked together. And that's the ability to play when you want to play, if feasible by, however, Paul's got things set up about how often the tee times are, 10 minutes apart, 15 minutes apart, what have you, and what the course can handle. Is those are the comments, and as I said, the biggest complaints in now the 4 years and 2 years as chairman of this group that I've always heard consistently. I honestly will say I've got a few emails, but I never got stopped by anybody on the course or at the clubhouse or putting my smelly shoes in the car, come up to me and say, this darn place charges too much money to play. No, I hadn't had, no one said that to me. But the other issues that we just discussed without going through them again, I did hear, and they did come up to me and talk about that.
And I would say the vast majority of the conversations that I've had, and since I've been in the authority, but also since I've been chairman, are about the season passes, the pros and the cons. The folks that have the season passes tend to really like them. I'm sure when they see an increase, they're upset. The folks that don't have season passes and are residents are angry that they don't get necessarily the tee times that they want. I'll give my 2 cents. It's a good transition to go into the second conversation, which is about the season passes. My 2 cents is I'm always looking at just from, what we need to do, what we oversee. We're kind of the conduit between the residents and the Oak Hills, right? To make sure that we're running it properly. It's being run. It's a good product, and then it's profitable. And so when I look at some of the season passes, ultimately, I think at the last meeting, we talked about how the season passes actually netted us at that point, maybe like $3,500. Now, a lot of those season pass holders played over the last month plus. Now that number is probably a wash. So let's just say, ultimately, whether we don't make much more money and we don't lose much more money by having these season passes. So ultimately, what's the benefit? Well, the clear benefit, and the reason why the numbers folks like it, is because it's cash in hand. We go through the off season. We don't have a lot of sources of income, so to have guaranteed money in hand allows us to pay our bills, and I completely get that, and that's beneficial. The downside is exactly what Rayanne talked about. What I personally think, in that the folks that have the money to get that annual pass now all of a sudden get all of the great tee times. And if you're just a golfer who might play 30 times, 40 times, I think you mentioned the break-even point is pretty high, which is a lot of golf, they then don't start getting tee times till 10 o'clock. And I know, Paul and I have had a lot of conversations about it. Whatever that number is, whatever that time is, I can just tell you that that's my main thing that I get, is that I get up 5 o'clock in the morning and I can't get a tee time because of the season pass holders. Mm-hmm. That being said, so we'll break this down, and I do honestly want to get everybody's feedback. As I mentioned, I didn't reach out to any of you guys. My personal opinion is that we get rid of the season passes altogether. Just get rid of them altogether. Net wise, over the course of 12 months, I think that it doesn't net us any money. It gives us the security of saying, hey, if everything gets crazy again next year, at least we have that money in hand, which is great. But I think the cons outweigh that security. So that's my 2 cents. It's just me, my one opinion, but I'll open up to everybody else on the authority to give their thoughts, because I do think this will be one that'll be a.
Just a real quick comment on that. And a lot of people on the board may know this or not, and people listening probably don't know it. When we opened back up, our back was against the wall. So we had to come up, and Ed had wanted to go with season passes for a long time, but the very things that you just said, a lot of us talked about it and we never did it because we didn't want to give it a private or semi-private club feel. Because let's be honest, we really didn't have a lot to offer back. No driving range, no really good restaurant, yada, yada. But we, just so everybody knows, we made that move. And had we not done that, chances are we might not have even opened up this season. But I will tell you that everybody sacrificed. I mean, Jim took sacrifice on compensation. Ed took sacrifice on compensation. We had part of Jim's crews that some we had to lay off, some we had to let go. I mean, we in the business world, we were having trouble making payroll. And had we not been able to do that with the passes to help spur the income, there's lots of times the payroll wouldn't have been, the bottom line would have never come close together. So That was justification then. Thank God, unless inflation goes, past Jimmy Carter era, and we end up with not a political comment, just a historical comment. It's higher than it's been in 40 years. We get to a point where we don't have enough people playing to make any kind of money. And it would be interesting, and I'm not proposing it. I do not believe that the pent up desire that we had at the start of this season because of COVID, we would have a lot of people turn out this year and buy season passes anyway. I don't know that for a fact. That's just a gut reaction.
I think that's a good point. And I don't regret voting for the season pass either of those 2 years. Because I think you even made a little, we would not have opened in 2020 without it. That's just the reality. We couldn't even pay our insurance without that influx of cash. And then last year, there was still a lot of uncertainty. So I'm not saying I regret making those decisions. I just think that where we're at right now, I think, and we could even look at changing what those benefits are. We could pull out the fact that you get an 8-day, benefit. I don't know who would sign up for it other than the people who play 150 rounds a year. And to that point, what's the benefit to us? Yeah, we get the influx of cash, and we're going to net loss a lot of money if we do that. So, we can be fluid with what the decisions are. There's also the piece about what, with the BET and what the finance committee of the city has been asking about in terms of, if anybody's been following that, we pay $2.05 for every round. That the season passes are kind of, they're silent within that agreement. So we're looking at, okay, well, how do we handle this? And it's an accountant nightmare because how do you carry it forward? And there's a lot of things that Joe and Mark talk about. So it's not easy and clean. I just personally think that the cons outweigh the pros of having an annual pass. But again, anybody else? Alan, Rand, Denise?
Can I ask two questions?
Alan, let me, or I'll forget it. I'm sorry. Michael, something came to my mind after we had our meeting last Friday. And so it's really a question for Paul and Mark, because they'd be more involved in it. And Joe's on also monetarily. The thought came to me driving home last Friday night was this. Does it make sense to make season passes an option? So you just made the point of what do we offer up in a package? So, we approved these rates. This is just regular golf, regular playing, do your normal thing. But let's say that I said, oh, you know what? What would be the benefits? Because I went through this up at Centennial about 4 years ago. What would be the benefits of me buying, a season pass, and I could buy it under the company's name? And it was a lot higher than $2,500. So that's one of the reasons I didn't do it. But is that a possibility, Paul? And I mean, do you know what do other courses do that sort of thing? And Mark, how hard would it be to handle? And that'd be my question.
I'm not sure I quite understand the form of what you're proposing. So
what I'm saying is I could play at Oak Hills starting next year as just a resident senior. As I look at this, maybe a resident senior plus, and pay my green fees as I go, and make my tee times as I did in the past. And I play enough times for whatever the reasons being, that I go, let me think about this. And I come into the pro shop and I ask Paul, is there anywhere in your pricing where if I wanted to plump down X, that I could buy a season pass and not pay on a per round basis anymore? And what would that give me? And I don't know what that would be. And I'm not even proposing what that'd be. I throw that to you guys who are in the golf business to figure that out.
So is there a hybrid model at all? Because I'm not too familiar with golf, but can you change this at all? Is there any restriction of tee times? Has it got to be 8 days? Is there any way to tweak it at all to make it more palatable? Paul, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, listening to a lot of things you guys said, and I'm going to really be speaking just as a golfer right now. It's really hard to compare golf courses. I personally don't compare Oak Hills to a lot of the other golf courses you mentioned. And a lot of that has to do with the condition of the greens or the golf course. And a huge condition is proximity to New York City. You know, the closer you get to the city, the more expensive things cost. And we have a lot of demand at Oak Hill. So, you know, in life, when the demand gets high, obviously you can raise some prices. $1, I don't think is a lot for the residents, 5% of the annual pass. And again, as a golfer, my feeling is I would be willing to pay 20 to 25% more to get those early tee times. That's what it's worth to me. And I think that's worth to a lot of the golfers there, because they want to play early and get on with the rest of their day. And, you know, typically too at Oak Hills, the good golfers are the ones who get all those early tee times and are the ones who play the most. You know, there are hybrids where you could pay half that price for an annual pass, and then you'd have to get a discounted green fee of some sort, maybe 50% discounted. But, you know, we already have the membership card, so I'm not sure you need that.
So Paul, if I heard you right there, and I'm not sure I did, it's not your fault, but I'm not sure I heard it right. If I normally pay $36 for a tee time, and I'm not, you know, super duper paid member, whatever, but I wanted to get into the tier of not all the time, but once in a while, an earlier tee time, let's say a 7 o'clock or a 6 o'clock, or whatever it might be. Are you saying that if I paid my normal rate of 36 plus a 20% increase, a few dollars more, $6 more, $7 more, I could get the earlier tee times unlocked for me to do that?
Well, there's programs where, again, you would pay a certain amount fee to play golf if you paid an upfront fee. So maybe you didn't pay $2,500. Let's say you paid $1,000, still have to pay a daily fee to play golf. But what I was really wanted all of you to know is, as a golfer, that annual pass, people are willing to pay a little more because you're getting an early tee time. And that would be.
And I wonder if people were more favorable to do that this past year because people wanted to get out and play golf because COVID had kept everybody cooped up. If the same demand would be there starting in the spring of 2022, or now for that matter.
They're thinking, you know, and I can mention a couple things later, but Oak Hills has gone up, let's see, almost 40% since 2019, whereas all the other golf courses in the country, the majority of them, an average was only 18 to 19%. And that's because
talking dollars or golfers?
Is rounds, maybe rounds played.
Okay.
And a lot of that has to do with not being in rural areas. You know, we're close to major metropolitan area, and I think that's helps us a lot. And as you know, just so you know too, I just got something today about the National Foundation of Golf, whereas rounds went up this year 4 to 5%. And that's because last year, a lot of the golf courses were closed last March and April, like we were. So it's been a great year, and they're anticipating another great year because there's just a lot of new golfers in the game and people are really, willing to work from home.
Rayanne, I know you want to speak. Rayanne, you have something to say?
Yeah, I was gonna talk on both Paul and Carl's comment, you know, I mean, yeah, a lot of us did do what we had to do during COVID, but yes, we did the thing. We went with the golf courses. We went with, you know, the opening of golf courses, the social distancing. But I mean, there are issues that still have to be addressed, which is how we're gonna deal with certain issues on the golf course, how we're gonna deal with certain, the increase of prices. I mean, there are so many unknowns, which we have to define, you guys, so.
One thing I want to mention real quick is in 2020, it was true that a lot of the tee times, especially once we first opened, were, you know, booked until 12 o'clock. And I could say fairly surely this year it was only up till about 10. And we didn't really have a lot of complaints this year compared to last year.
Paul, tee times, I disagree with you. I'd go on at 5 o'clock in the morning, exactly 5 a.m. I got my confirmation at 5:01 in the morning from your system. And I went, as I said, I went at 5 a.m. The earliest tee time I could get is 11:20. that's unacceptable, in my opinion, as a regular golfer. So this needs to be addressed.
Did we
Hey,
not
Mike.
move to an afternoon booking for annual pass members?
So I mean, we do have an issue with booking times, and I do agree totally with what people are complaining with tea time and tea time reservations. I totally agree with that, and I have the same issue, and I have the same argument, and I can argue with all of you guys till you guys are like blue in the face. So something needs to be done about this immediately.
Mike,
So,
Mike, it's TJ. Can I chime in here?
Absolutely, TJ.
Great. So just from a golfer's perspective and somebody who belongs to both a couple different, or has belonged to a couple different courses in terms of private, public, semi-private, stuff like that. So I think that we just need to decide like what the golf course wants to be. And if it's going to be, if you want it to be semi-private, there's definitely some other things that you can do, that you can offer, where you'd be able to increase the cost of that annual pass. So as an example, like the club right now doesn't have a member tournament. It doesn't have a member guest tournament. It doesn't have anything like that, where people that want to be or want to belong to a club that has members, there's a lot of things like that they will pay for, regardless of if they're going to get the rounds in or not. Because I think it's like 60 to 65 rounds to break even, roughly, right, on the 2,500. And
Yeah, I
so
think
you're
so.
only going to have, you're only going to have
about 75.
All right, there you go. So you're only going to have a handful of people that actually do that. But I mean, I know, like, just even, and not that we're the same golf course as this or anything like that, but I mean, Great River is $7,500 a year, and their average round is about $100, $125 a round. So it's similar in terms of how many rounds you'd have to play in order to break even. But I know that the members there that are not playing 75 rounds a year, they're not paying for that. They're paying for being able to participate in a member, being able to participate in a member guest, being able to participate in a Ryder Cup tournament, like all those other ancillary things, and they're willing to pay for it. And I'm not saying that we have to do that. I'm just saying that if we're going to go in that direction, I actually think that you can increase that 2,500 to something higher if that's what people really want. And I don't necessarily think that you like, because I think what you said is right, is that at $2,500, like, even if you're not going to get the 75 rounds in, people are going to pay for that just for the early tee times. And that's not necessarily what the $2,500 should be for. I mean, the $2,500, I think from a golfer perspective, that should be for a membership where I'm getting more things than just preferred tee times. And I'd be willing to pay more for that. And so that's the only reason. So I didn't do the unlimited this year. And the reason being is because there was no other ancillary things. I mean, I did it the first year because Ed said, hey, we need some money. And I said, okay, Ed, here you go. Here's the money.
Yeah.
But this year, if Oak Hills had 3, 4, 5 different tournaments that were members only or member guests or things like that, even if I wasn't going to play the 75 rounds, I still would have paid it and done it.
And I think those are a good point. I think Paul will probably agree with that. My thing is, what is the benefit for us if we're not making money off of that?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Right. I mean, Great River is beautiful. We're not Great River. I don't think we'll ever be Great River. So, it's not like you're going to be, a stockbroker saying, I'm going to take out big clients. And so I'm going to pay $10,000 for the ability to do some sort of member guest. So, and I'm open to whatever everybody else wants to say. In my opinion, right now, just on the surface, the big benefit is getting that extra day at tee time. That's it. That's what people are paying for. Yes, the folks that are paying the 100, and there are people that pay 100, play 150 rounds. Mark will attest to it. Those people obviously get it, but it's the benefit of. And so, what are we gaining from that? We're actually,
guys. There's also the question of, did we make money on it or did we not make money on it? And Mark, I think he did a little bit of an analysis on that. Mark, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, and it showed we basically broke even.
Basically.
so the benefit, Mark, accounting wise, is that we have the cash in hands obviously better than future projection.
And you know, it's only 50 or 60 players, right? So it's, to me, it is, when you invest, you don't put all your eggs on baskets. So this is one basket where we're saying we have a guaranteed for a certain amount of money that's coming in, and just in case the season is very rainy or whatever it is, and nobody wants to play golf, we still have that money up front. It's not going to change everything. Everyone else is not coming, but at least that small bit. And on the other hand, they may make out, just like the last 2 years where it's been gorgeous weather most weekends. People have played a lot of rounds. So, you know, it is a shot in the dark a bit. But after my analysis and seeing that we did break even, the guaranteed aspect is the only reason that I'm voting for it. I know some players are really want it, but that's where I stand. I understand what you're saying, Mike, on why you would vote against it, because I was basically going to vote against it until I saw that we were breaking even.
And just to be clear, the concept of breaking even here is that it comes in at par with a normal golf greens fee round, right? There's obviously some additional benefits that come with buying the season pass package that obviously a normal greens fee would be discounted for, and then the premium would be for those additional benefits. So just monetarily, sure, versus a regular greens fee round, it breaks even, but the fringe benefits make it a bit of a discount.
The other last thing I'll mention, and then again, I'll turn back over, but think about whether there are players that want to play at Oak Hills, but they go on and they like to play early in the morning. They like to play at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and they go on and they can't get a tee time and then just take their business elsewhere. And we lose that revenue. They're, instead of playing at Oak Hills on a Saturday, they're playing somewhere else, one of the other courses that Rayanne mentioned. So I do think, even though I actually think it'll be a benefit, because I think we'll get more people to play. Because I know Newark residents that'll do that and say, I want to play at 7 o'clock. I can't ever get a tee time at 7 o'clock at Oak Hill. So on Saturday, I'm going to go to Longshore. I'm going to go whatever that might be. It's just something else to think about.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, on the flip side of that, if let's say you have like the normal people that would pay for the membership, right? And those 50 guys that would pay for that.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I think that if they can't play, let's say before 9 o'clock or whatever, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I think we will. This is not an easy answer.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think about, like you said, so if I don't know, I'm kind of thinking, like, my own personal thing is like, yeah, I think if you're going to do it, you should make some money off of it. So, I mean, what if you raised it to $3,500 for this season?
For season pass?
Yeah.
My answer to that, TJ, is that it will self-limit then. We probably will get under 50 people. I think we'll price a lot of people out. But
yeah, but then
we will still have
is that better though?
But it's really,
I like
that's
more
really
money,
not a
but
problem
I'm not following why to raise it by what, $1,000?
Yeah, I'm just saying is that the major complaint is that people can't get tee times.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like the majority of people can't get tee times.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because there's so many annual pass holders out there that are getting these tee times.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing, and I'm not saying that this is the right answer or not, I'm just throwing something out there, is that
Sure.
if you did raise it to $3,500, right, and you raised it by 1,000, 100% you're going to price people out. But that's sort of the point, is that even if you sold 20 of them, it then potentially brings in, you still get some cash that comes in the door up front. And then all those tee times become available because you only have 20 guys now that are doing that. And you're getting all the revenue from the people that are supposedly going somewhere else because they log on and they can't get a tee time till 11 o'clock.
No, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
And then-
Mark, how
and
many
then-
did we have?
And then,
75?
sorry, just, I'm going to add just one more thing.
Sure.
And then with the $3,500, if you throw in like, hey, we're going to have a member tournament this year, or we're going to have a member guest, and like a real member guest, not just like a, not a scramble tournament, like a real member guest. And okay, so you block the course off for 2 days for this member guest, but all the member guests you pay for, so they're not free. So you still pay to get in it, and you pay for the guests, and it brings in revenue, brings in food, like it does all that. I don't know, maybe, yes, you're definitely going to limit the people that buy the annual passes, but I think that is what we're trying to accomplish here. And if you could still bring in some revenue, I think it might at least be an option to potentially look at what number you'd have to raise it to and how many people where it would actually make some sense.
You
One of the
guys,
problems
my
I see with
point-
that
my
is
point-
that-
My point is, I do agree with TJ. We should have like the limited passes to a definitely certain amount. And I think we should definitely define it as how many, because yes, we have the tea time like problem, which we've all addressed, we've all had problems with, me specifically, but I mean, I think we could do annual passes if it's very limited, like maybe only 25 or 30. He said maybe 50, but I mean, I think we can limit it, and that's that. So people can actually get their tea times on like a Sunday, whatever weekend morning, and we also have limitation to this. So that's my opinion, but
We can't limit the annual pass holders to not being able to make that early morning appointment every day. Can we limit the amount of days they could do that? Is that an option or not?
Probably an option. We'd have to look into the T sheet and maybe block them out on certain days. But again, they're really paying for the ability to get tee times. I think if you wanted to limit it, you just have to find the price where you're gonna push out some people. It's all about the price you want to charge to push people out.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
As far as TJ's suggestion, I mean, I like it. I think it's the path that we should be chasing. But at the rates we have now, we think we're going to have 50 people. If we bump it to 3,500, we're going to have 25, 30 people. What kind of member is that? That's not a very well-populated golf tournament. We're not there yet. It's just not, I don't think that's going to produce the numbers.
Half the annual pass holders probably won't play in a member guest. And if we want to have one, and the one reason we didn't is we didn't have an up and coming restaurant. You got to have a restaurant to have a member guest. But it would come from a lot of other people, and it would be just a daily fee. Here's the member guest. It's 150 for the twosome. Sign up. That's how we're going to have to do it, because even in your Oak Hills Men's Golf Association, your annual pass holders, there's not enough people there to pull from to create a nice tournament. So we have to open up.
And I understand the concept of, I do like the concept. I just think that when you look at the numbers, even if we're charging that, Paul, and we're going to wind up losing money that day. That's a day that we're closing the course off for, 25 members to have a member guest. And I think it's something we continue to look at, right? I mean, I think we can.
Yeah, but
that's
no,
the thing about this pass. We can bring it back up next year. If all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't something that this is in perpetuity. I'm saying for this year, based on the feedback I've gotten, again, I'm gonna vote against the season pass part. And I'm gonna vote for the increase on the regular passes. We're at, we're an hour and 17 minutes into this meeting. So obviously, if anybody has any new thoughts, we've kind of covered a lot of different things, so I don't want to repeat any ideas we've already said, but if anybody has any new thoughts on it, feel free, and then we could ask for a motion.
The only thing I would say, Mike, I was just doing, after figuring out what TJ was saying, and not because he didn't explain it right. I was in and out of the room. And to your point about closing the course down, if you raised it to $3,500 and you only had 25 people buy season passes, if my math is right on the computer here, that's like $87,000.
Yep.
So I
But,
think,
but I mean, what did we make last year? We had 65 at 2,500.
I have a question. When you sell the season passes and you cap it at 50, is that a combination of the adult, the senior, the junior, and the family combined? Is that
Sure.
whenever it's a
I
pass
believe-
is sold, it's a
Yes.
combination of all the categories. It's not 50 for each category. It's a combination of all the categories into one.
yeah, that's right, isn't it, Mark?
Yes, in total. It was only 66 in total this past year. And
Okay.
and Mike, we sold about 130,000 last year worth of passes.
We got about $130,000. The benefit was we got the $130,000 up front, which is awesome. It's guaranteed. At the end of the day, we would have made that $130,000 anyway, based on assuming those people played the same amount of rounds. So around that is about the same. So to TJ's point, we would take in less, but you'd have some other benefits, and you would reduce some of the cons, which was the inability to go and get tee times. But that's why I'm glad we're having this an open discussion, because it's not, if it was simple, this discussion would have lasted 2 minutes and we would have voted up or down.
Actually, if you follow the model you just mentioned, I think, right, if you raise the price, you can lower the amount that you sell, and you're still going to make more money.
Well, we'll make 87,000 as opposed to the 130.
Yeah.
But I also think,
or
Carl,
we could
here's
back
the thing.
into it, take the 130 and divide it by how many members who really want to sell season passes to it, 3,500.
I also think, though, the folks that are going to pay the 3,500. Those are going to be the people that play 100 rounds. So we do lose money on it.
We lose
my
money
guess.
off the green fee round. Yeah, that's true.
We're gonna, if we get the people that are gonna pay $3,500 are gonna be the folks that are, the loyal golfers, which we love, and but we will wind up losing money off of them at the end of the year because they've now played more around. That's the reason why you would do it if you're not able to, if your only benefit is that piece. But
Right. Yeah.
Well, you're right. This only has to be for one season at a time. We don't have to say that this in perpetuity. This is for the coming year.
I would really like to remind people that this is not an irreversible decision, and it's actually not even for the entire year. We just have to post public notice if we're going to change the fee structure for access to the park of any type. And
Right.
if we want to do that in July and say we're going to do a half season pass, we can do that if we think we took them off the table and we should put them back on the table. That is within our remit.
That's
such
a good point.
Yeah.
That helps us make our budget if we have to do something.
Right. If we get into a spot like we had in, April of 2020, where, we're in a space where we really, really are cash strapped, we could always do this. We typically do it in December because that's the regular cadence, but per the ordinance, we can increase or decrease rates whenever we want. We just have to have public notice and a public hearing on it. So you're exactly right, Joe.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
through the
Mr.
chair,
Vice
can I
Chairman.
make a motion that we end this discussion and bring it to a vote?
I have one more question.
Of course.
Are you giving a discount for early purchases for the season pass like you did last year? Didn't you do a 10% discount or some discounts?
No, we didn't give any discount on the season passes, only on the discount ID cards, which are up on the screen right here.
On the
Columns
ID
B and
cards?
C. Oh, I'm sorry. I should have explained. That's my fault. It's not clear right there.
Oh.
Column B represents the early bird discount, and column C is what it would be after March 1st.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yep. Sorry about that.
okay.
So a couple of things I'd like to propose, I think in order to separate it, I think we should vote initially on the regular rate increase.
Yep.
And then we could take it to the second part, and if anybody has any amended, options, we can do that. I'm gonna, but does anybody want to make a motion at this point to approve the existing traditional regular rates as is?
I make a motion that we take a vote to approve the traditional rates as it is. As it's been presented
Wait.
and discussed.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to clear that up because you're saying traditional, but this is the proposed new rates we're saying, right?
Yes, sorry. Yep. I'm just saying everything but the annual pass. So that would include cart fees, that would include rates, regular golfer rates.
Yes.
Okay.
So Carl, anybody have a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, so we'll do a roll call vote. I'll signify by saying aye. Alan Dutton,
Aye.
Denise Brown,
Aye.
TJ Trimboli,
Aye.
Rayanne Bromark.
Muted.
Still with us, Rayanne? All right, we'll come back to Rayanne. Carl Dickens,
Boy,
Joe Andrasco,
Aye.
and then go back to Rayanne one more time. Rayanne? All right, so Rayanne will then I guess abstain. So the motion passes to approve the rates for 2022 as proposed. The second piece of this, would anybody like to make a motion to approve the annual pass rate as is? Or does anybody have a motion to make an amendment to it?
through the chair, I'd like to make a motion that we table the season pass discussion.
All right, did that need a second to table, or is that just an up-down vote?
I'll
I got it.
second that. I'll second that.
All right, so we'll do another roll call. I'll start.
Well, I think
will-
after a motion and a second, there's a little bit of discussion that's possible. And
Okay.
I would just like to understand the gentleman's goals in tabling and what we hope to accomplish and what the further discussion would.
The point is, Mr. Andrasco, is to give us, I think, a little time to mull over in our head what we've talked about, which I think has been a very good discussion regards these. And to take a look at it maybe one more time and throw some different things on the table like TJ's proposed and some other things and then see if we've really got something solid to bring before the board for a quick vote, up or down, and we can get that done as soon as the chairman would like to do that.
Thank you.
I'll throw my 2 cents in on this. I mean, I think we've had these rates for a week now. We've been annual pass has been in existence for 2 years. So I think if anybody, this was something we should have probably addressed prior to this meeting, but obviously it's an open vote. So it's been seconded. So we'll bring it to the vote. We'll do signify by roll call. I'll start. I'm voting no on that to table. Alan Dutton.
No.
Denise Brown.
You're saying when you're voting no to
Tabling it, to pushing it, to kind of kicking it down and saying we're going to vote on it tonight.
You're voting on my motion to table.
Yeah.
I would like to table it for now.
Okay, so she's a yes. So we have 2-1 right now. TJ?
Yes.
2-2.
The table.
Rayanne?
She's on, she's muted, but she's still on the line.
She's still on. She's
Don't see her though.
I don't see her either. Carl?
On the panelist, she's still there.
Yeah,
If you
she's
look
still here. Yeah,
at that tab, she's still there.
You might have to step away.
Yeah.
Carl?
Yes to table.
All right, so that's so far 3-2. Joe Andrasco, would you like the table?
Opening her bottle of wine.
I'll vote
Uh,
yes
Joe?
on opening the bottle of wine.
Joe's opening a bottle of wine. Joe, yes, yay or nay on tabling this?
I would say nay.
Nay. Okay, so that leaves it unless Rayanne is back. Rayanne, could you be the deciding vote, Rayanne? Going once, going twice. So as a tie 3-3, I believe as chairman, I can move it as a nay, right? I could be the tiebreaker. Is that correct, Joe or Mark?
I think you already voted, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, we're 3-3 right now.
Oh,
So
you're part of that three. Yeah, you can then do what you want, I think.
yeah. So I'm going to vote to not table this and to have the vote tonight. So does anyone else have anybody want to make a motion to vote as is?
I think we should leave them as it is.
Okay, so there's a motion. Anybody want to second that motion?
I second. That's
Second
Joe.
that motion. Okay, so this is the annual passes as is. I'm going to vote no on it. Alan?
Yes.
Alan, yes. Denise?
I think I'm going to abstain.
Okay, Denise will abstain. TJ?
Yeah, I'm gonna vote no as is.
All right. Rayanne? Carl?
I'm going to vote yes with an option for comment later.
Okay, so I believe that's 2-1 to 1 abstention. It's Carl, Joe Andrasco.
I vote yes.
Yes on the rates. So that's 3. That's yes on the annual pass as is. So I believe everybody has voted. Did I not call on anybody? It's just a little difficult on
Rayanne?
Did you call Rayanne?
I called Rayanne. Yep.
She's not answering.
I think her line's busy.
She just texted me no.
Oh, okay.
So, but that still leaves us at 3-2. So it looks like the motion passes to approve the annual pass as is, as was presented by our controller, Mark Gardner. So that motion passes.
Okay.
All right. So there we are. We'll be very quick at this point in terms of new business here. Couple of things. I'd like to just get a quick update on the cart paths from you, Jim. So where we stand.
Sure. So we sustained a bunch of damage on one of the paths that they were using as a haul road. And unfortunately, the path has gone beyond the point of being able to use it for regular golf. So we had to add that path onto the list of things that need to be reconstructed. And we agreed to a price. And essentially, that price makes us pay the entire amount of what we budgeted to Deering for the whole project, all said and done for this fall, except for having the actual asphalt on the path. That they can come back for in the spring for a price of $11,300 is what they told me today. Yesterday, it was $9,000, but there was nothing perfectly calculated on paper with the calculator or anything like that. So it was a verbal. They came back to me today with a price for $11,300 for next spring to actually pave. So we're gonna essentially use the entire budget of what we had in CapEx for cart paths, unfortunately.
Jim, are they basing their increased cost on the price of oil going up and everything
That is
else
accounted,
happening?
that is accounted for, yes.
Okay. Can we get from them, because we don't know what the next 3 months are gonna be, hell,
Right.
probably. Just like you do when you get your fuel oil costs, can we get a cap? So like if they told us they're paying $3.60 a barrel right now, and I don't know if that's how they calculate it in order to make asphalt.
What you're
could put a
saying is
cap
you
on
want
that?
it locked in?
Yes, sir.
I think through the communications and the emails, we have the emails. Do you guys think that that might be enough to say that it's locked in, or do we want it on a letterhead saying this is the price for the work in the spring?
I would prefer I'm sorry, but I would just prefer the letterhead.
That's no problem.
Down and locked in legally.
Okay,
It's an
I'll ask
official
for it.
bid. Yep.
I'll ask for it. They're gonna show up tomorrow and prep and do all the work to form the new cart path, everything but the asphalt. So
This would be a change order to the existing contract, correct?
you
Kind of an
can view it
out-of-scope
as that, or you can view it as an additional CapEx project. You could,
In my mind, I'm thinking this is a change order because it
Right.
basically, it's just so everybody understands. So the car paths are done, correct?
yes,
It's just
the ones that we had
path they
planned on
had to
doing.
use damaged that car path. And so I
Correct.
saw some of the pictures, it's damaged. To me, this is why we had that kind of contingency in there. When we got that low rate, we kind of knew like, okay, well, we've got the contingency in there in
Very
case
happy
anything
we
came
had
up.
that
To me, this is an out of scope change. This was not part of the original contract. It was something that was unforeseen. They did
Correct.
everything to the letter of their contract in order to preserve that. It just, it's you don't know till you get on there.
Right.
So I think this is kind of for informational only. We will have to come back and vote on that additional overage. But I think, I'm glad, that's why I wanted to bring it out. I want to make sure everybody is up to speed on that, on the authority.
Right.
Glad to see. We were talking about some of the benefits that are happening at Oak Hills. Having continuous car pass is going to be, in my mind, a game changer that's going to hit our
Huge.
bottom line in April. Like in late March, we're going to start making more money because of it.
Yes.
So I don't think that we get all the way to the finish line and then, fumble at the 1 yard line because, of this damage. But
No, I agree. I just did. I don't know how many people buy fuel. I'll probably most people. If you as a homeowner haven't locked your price in for next season, then put your seatbelt on, because it's already going up a lot month to month. And I'm sure that whatever, and I'm not saying these guys are doing anything wrong. I'm just saying that I'm sure that by the time January 1 rolls around, or whenever the plants start opening up, and I guess there's one in Bridgeport that operates year round, but that by the time people start buying asphalt, prices are going to go up next year because it's made with petroleum. So that's
no,
all.
I think we just need a binding proposal from them.
For the spring.
For the spring. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
you get a
Oh, yeah.
binding
For the
proposal
spring when
them
they come
to-
back. Yeah. Yeah.
And then we will then address that and vote on that. So this isn't a voting, my item is just, like traditional kind of update.
There's also one other item I think that Denise and I wanted to briefly mention about the engineer's report from tennis. It came in, it showed some things. It gave us a plan that ended up what I think is extreme overkill. I think we can find a drainage pipe somewhere to connect this to, instead of build a giant leach field for all the water that comes off the tennis courts. It would save a heck of a lot of money, number one. And number two, they also did not locate the septic utilities in the ground. And we've gone back to them and we're trying to tell them that, in fact, that was in their proposal, that they would include that. Denise, do you have anything to add there?
I just hope them is a he, so it's only one solo person who is actually Grumman. He doesn't really have a crew.
I had another guy answer to me today.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You had somebody else answered
Yes.
the email that you sent?
Yes.
But wait a minute, was that Grumman or was that Jim Holiday that answered?
Jim Holiday.
Okay, he has nothing to do with Grumman.
Why is he answering my email?
He was the one who came with me to Grumman when I was trying to, get him to respond to us. So he was the guy that I told you about today, who was following up with me to make sure that, we get this, at least an answer from him. He's on the Friends of Tennis Committee and he does a lot of property management. So he was
Okay.
interested in, so when he followed up with you, that was not a Grumman employee or anything to do with Grumman. So he was asking you, he was giving you another option about the finding where the tank is or where the hole was for the drainage. No, I just hope that we can get an answer from him quicker than 5 months. Because he doesn't respond.
Right.
So Mark, don't cut the check yet. I mean, if you want to cut the check and hold it, go ahead, but.
No, I'll just
Don't
wait.
mail it. Don't mail it.
No, don't mail it. I was
Mark
gonna
is
say.
not cutting a check unless he has to. I'll tell you that. That's why he's our guy.
I'm telling you to hold it if you do cut it, so,
That's
yeah.
actually, Denise, to your point, and this is new business, but only because we had talked about it last time. We talked about the tennis player who unfortunately had gotten struck by the golf ball, and we looked at some of the different options. The quote we got for a netting was $75,000.
That's all.
We will continue to over the offseason to look at various options. But one of the things to me, what stuck out as one of the issues was we continue to not be able to define what that rule is, right? So it's at the discretion at this point of whether or not that person did it intentionally. It was determined in this instance that it was not intentional. I know the gentleman that was struck had voiced some concerns that, this person should have been banned from golfing because of that. So one of the things that we talked about was, and we as an authority, and I look through the bylaws, we don't have the authority to ban somebody from golfing. Like that is, it's not in our purview, but we are a consultative,
I do.
organization. So what's that?
I think I do.
Well, Jim, you do, but you're not on the authority, buddy. I'm saying as an authority,
All
as
right,
the
I got
group,
you.
as the voting members, we don't have the
Oh, but we
ability.
could
And
ask
I think
him
that's
to.
probably right.
But
I
you
don't
have the
think-
authority to tell me what to do. So
I have the authority. We have the authority to make recommendations and things like
Okay.
that.
Okay.
So the idea was, and we discussed it, was to put together what we would loosely call a rules committee, but a committee that would review these type of incidents, investigate them, bring those to the rest of the authority, and then, make a recommendation for you and for, Don and for Paul. So, I had thrown it out there. Is anybody interested in joining that? Rayanne thankfully had responded. She wants to do that. So Rayanne will be the chairperson of this committee. And so anybody that's interested in joining this, again, I think it'll be something that's hopefully not often utilized, but I think it does give us the ability. So Rayanne, I appreciate you raising your hand for that. But I think, it's one of those things that we're never going to have a right answer completely. It's just a difficult kind of configuration there. We did go back and do research. We did not have any records of anybody else getting hit. But that's kind of where we stand. And Denise, I don't know if you have any updates on that, or any other thoughts, because you weren't in the last meeting, but I do want to get your
I mean, my only other thought is that we have not had people reported who have been hit, but I've been on the tennis courts, and there are tennis golf balls that are on the tennis courts quite often. So the fact that nobody's gotten hit is good, or that nobody maybe has come forward because maybe they really haven't had, anything, very much that's not that bad that happened to them. But there are golf balls on the courts. I mean, I pick them up every week when I was there playing all summer. So they do come on the court. So
I got hit by a tennis ball at the dog leg.
You got hit by a tennis ball?
At the dog leg. Mhm.
So that's
what I'll say to that real quick is we reached out to the insurance company.
Jim's the only one.
Because I thought maybe the investment would actually pay itself back in insurance costs. And the insurance company, the underwriters actually said it wouldn't even reduce our rate, which kind of goes to show you what their thoughts are about the risk of it. And they've come and analyzed, obviously they understand the course inside and out by underwriting us. So that gave me, again, if the insurance company is thinking to themselves, well, even if you make this $75,000 investment, it doesn't make you less of a risk to us as an insured. It's, again, we're going to have this discussion over the offseason. We're going to have a discussion next year. It's going to be something. So I think we need to continue over the offseason looking at alternatives. We have the first alternative, which is that $75,000 net. It still doesn't prevent somebody from, if they want to be, a jerk and hit a chipping wedge over it and do whatever. It is what it is. So that's the update on that. Again, this isn't anything to vote on, but I do want to just kind of give everybody an update on that. And Denise, I owe you a phone call to kind of discuss this a little bit more. Obviously, you're more intimately involved. You know much more than me. So I'd like to defer to you. So if you have any ideas or folks from the tennis group have any ideas, I'm
Well,
all ear. Because the last thing I want is to have to deal with this again where somebody gets hit. It's a horrible.
Right. I mean, there was a couple of ideas that we threw around. Jim and I were talking about, like, looking into a camera just to see if we could have footage. And he had said that there is electricity on around hole 9, Jim. Is that what you said?
Right on the 9th tee. I mean, it would be a long shot to catch it on camera, but from there.
Yeah,
But
I mean, that was a possible option.
I think it's a deterrence though, too, just to have the knowledge that a camera's on.
And then I also reached out to another tennis company, Hinding, which gave us a full proposal on doing all 8 courts over with the poles and the chain link fence and everything. And he was just going to come and walk the course and look to see if he was to give us a proposal on the net, we probably wouldn't need something on court 1 and court 6. So we might need to look at maybe doing a shortened version of the net. Not all, I think it's like 244 feet for the length of one side, Jim. And so we could reduce that to maybe 150 feet of netting versus stringing it along the whole side and possibly get a different quote. Just to see, just to compare.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think we need to just continue to dig down and find something that.
So we'll talk about it, Mike, and I can work on some things with Jim and see what else we can come up with.
And I'm free to come to your next meeting if you guys meet regularly. I'd love to just come or if you want to put together a group, we could brainstorm some stuff.
Okay.
I'm all
That
ears.
would be great.
I wish I had a simple answer.
Okay, very good.
All right, Don, really briefly, we're at an hour and 44 minutes. Update on the restaurant. I know you got some good news.
I do. I have some great news. So today the health department came in today and we passed with a 97 out of 100 rating. And the 3 that we got dinged on were stuff like paper towels not behind the bar, which we're not even open yet. So it's like a little thing like that. So that means tomorrow I'm going to call the building inspector and we should have our CO either tomorrow or first thing Monday morning. So that means we can officially open next week. And I would like to try to do a schedule for either Thursday or Friday and do like a soft opening where we invite obviously everybody on the committee and the board and their significant others and friends and family to kind of test the menu out. Mark and Paul were lucky enough to kind of taste test some of our food that we did a couple weeks ago when we were doing food photography. And I think they'll attest to you that the food that we did come out with came out excellent. And I sent you guys some pictures. Most of you on the board, I sent you guys a link to some of the pictures that we took to give you an idea what we're gonna do for our dinner menu. Just to give you a heads up on that, that's just the dinner menu. We're gonna do an elevated dinner menu to draw in the crowds from Darien, Buchanan, Norwalk for dinner. But the lunch menu that we will do during the golf season will be catered towards the golfers. Burgers, wings, that kind of stuff. So don't look at the dinner menu or the photos and think that's what we're going to be doing for the menu and be a quattro pazzi because that's not what we're going for. That's just for the dinner menu. And even on the dinner menu, we will still have burgers and other stuff that will be catered for the golfers that are coming off the course.
Awesome.
So Don, just to back up, you're okay on your plumbing sign off, your electrical sign off, fire departments come and stuff like that?
Yep. So the fire stuff was just a technical thing. We had to take a dedicated phone line and connect it to the panel that they fixed, which came in last Saturday. Scott Webb ran wiring for us to do that because the phone company that brought it in couldn't do that. So Scott Webb ran it for us, who's awesome. And it just once TPC, who is the fire alarm company, gets this signs off on the final paperwork that we already gave them, that Mark gave them to, they will give us a sheet saying they're all set. I give that to the building thing, and that's a sign off from the fire department. They don't need to come back out, and that's something they're going to sign off either tomorrow or first thing Monday morning. That's the only thing we're waiting on. But the health department delivered the passage to them today, so they have that. The only thing we're waiting on is the final signature from the fire department, which is a formality at this point. It's already done. We're already passed. We did everything. The wiring is all set. It's just a monitoring fee that we are gonna set up, which we did this week. And we're ready to go. So I'm excited about that. I know it's been a long process, and I apologize to everybody on the board and the public for the delays. But I think in the grand scheme of things, I think people are gonna be happy with the product we're putting out. And there's some other stuff that we're working on that I think people are gonna like for like comedy acts and bands and that kind of stuff. So I'm excited. I'm hoping we just kind of springboard from opening next week, and then we go right into the spring with St. Patty's Day celebration, and we jump right into the golf season. And I think people are gonna be more than happy with what we're doing. And I'm just I'm glad we have all this behind us, and we can finally have the ball in the end zone and kind of spike it. But
Right. Cool.
I'm
Yeah.
excited.
So we've got to figure out what that kind of soft opening, kind of ribbon cutting thing looks like. And we'll work with the mayor's office and the council to make sure they're all there and all that. So,
yeah, I think we do a soft opening, just kind of test basically a menu kind of run through for like friends and family. And then we do a nice ribbon cutting in the spring. I think
yeah, we'll do the formal. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're going to be open throughout the off season, and you're open for private events, correct?
Correct.
So somebody
We're doing
right
private
now
events.
today can give you a call and start to book something
Correct.
down the road after the holidays.
Yeah, we have 3 or 4 in January already. We have one Friday and Sunday this week. Sunday is for Bob Thompson's group that's coming in. Tomorrow we have a networking group that's coming in, about 40 people. So we're excited about where we're headed, and I think everybody that's been there and has done an event up there has had nothing but great things to say. And I think we have everything dialed in. We have a good menu. We have good crew.
It's a beautiful space. It's a beautiful
So I guess, Don, just one quick final thing. We should look at kind of hours of operation as we, when we look at the new year, what are our hours of operation? Obviously, January, February, March. Do you plan, should the bar be open anytime? Are people playing golf? You got your private events, coordinations, and then going into basically operations, what's our regular operations going to be, full-time hours and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and I without getting too much in the weeds on this, I have a pretty much set thing, and I'll just kind of go over it briefly. So for this off season going into the spring, I think we're going to do Thursday through Sunday is our operation for dinner, with Sunday or Saturday afternoon lunch. Definitely brunch on Sunday, because I think brunch is one of those things we really want to set ourselves apart with. Because I think the brunch that we want to put together will be one of those things where it'll be a destination place to go. And that's, if you think about brunch, there's not too many places in Norwalk in general where it's a destination to go for brunch. And we want to turn that into a brunch place, especially on a Sunday. Because I think the space screams for a lot of opportunity to do different things, whether it's an acoustic set or, like a Frank Sinatra type guy that comes in on a Sunday that's playing in the corner. I think that will be one of those things with awesome drink specials and great food. And then once we get into the spring and summer, we'll operate Tuesday through Sunday. Mondays will be closed only because we'll leave Mondays for our tournaments and those other things, which everything is always scheduled on Mondays. So we'll leave that day. And that's how we do it at Silvermine too. We're closed on Mondays because that opens it up for all the tournaments, and it builds in a day off for the staff, which we're going to need because we're going to be cranking from Tuesday through Sunday. So that's kind of the idea, what we're thinking of for the hours of operation. The weekends will kind of be determined based off of what we see. It's kind of how we did with Dry Dock. We were one of those where we stayed open till 1 o'clock, and then we realized we're not that type of place. So we dialed in the hours and changed them. So I think spring and summer will determine what we hours for the weekend. I'm hoping we can be open till like 1 o'clock in those places, but that's one of those things. We'll see how it goes, and I think we'll adjust accordingly. Doesn't make sense to kind of burn it through labor if the business is not there. But again, that's something we'll have to just kind of dial in as we go.
Yeah, we'll have extensive discussions about all that stuff. So, all right, cool, Don. Thanks for the good news, buddy. And then lastly, Carl, I know we had talked about this in the past, the naming of the Oak Hills Park Meadow. But Carl, do you want to talk briefly about that?
Basically, it's that it's really time to do this. I don't want to mention his name. most of you know what it is, but I'd like to keep that off the open record here in the public. But the donor that we have, very generous to us, gave us 10 grand. And then when we really needed money to get open, he gave us 20 grand. And all he's ever asked in return was to do something for his wife, who died now probably 2.5 years ago or longer. And one of the ideas we came up with, and I talked to the Nature Committee about this, was that since we're doing what was the Great Lawn, but now the Meadow, could we just name that in her honor? And Don mentioned something about it. We could put a bench there and that sort of thing with a nameplate, which I think is a great idea. But I do believe, and you brought this up, Michael, and I believe what you say, we have to find somebody in the city in order to be able to put a bench or to rename something on a city property area. So I would propose that you and I run that down and get it okayed. I can't imagine they would turn it down, but then again, who knows? And then, I think probably when the springtime comes around or gets a little warmer, so that there could be family and whatever else there, then we should probably do that. And Don, since you're talking about brunch and stuff, maybe on that particular day, we even, serve something that's apropos for people that might be there that celebrate this event. So that I'd just like to get moving on because it's way, way overdue.
Yeah, and so just to be clear, I mean, we don't have the authority to rename anything because it still is technically city property. So we'll have to go to building and land use, that committee. But we wanted, and Carl was right, because we talked about it, but it's good to bring it up here, because as long as nobody has a problem on it, because we don't necessarily have to vote because it's not our property anyway to vote on.
Right.
We'd like to move forward and propose it to that committee so that they can get it, get voted on. So does anybody have an issue with us renaming that? I mean, very good, not just financial contributor, but a really good supporter of the park. So
Big time. Yep.
yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
And I know Jim, could we just include the front bunker on 13 and name that after me?
I mean, I agree with renaming it per, like, if sitting in Norwalk agrees with it, so.
Good.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. So that's it. Anybody want to make the most
I'll
important?
make a motion that we adjourn.
I second.
A second.
Oh, yes.
Everybody seconds. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Did you get my text?
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Paul, did you
All right.
get the text I sent?
My phone's off, so it doesn't ring.
Oh, are you available for a couple minutes? It's non-related to all of this stuff. I need to talk to you about something.
Sure.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.